Bonjour everyone. Today I'm going to read the story Bimishkaawawin, the Ojibwe Waterways, and the author is Kevin Roach. The author is the person who writes the words in our story, and the illustrator is Marty Tubles Sr., and the illustrator is the person that does the pictures in our story. So Kevin and Marty worked together to create this story for us today. The Ojibwe Waterways. Bimishkaawawin. At one time, not so long ago, the Anishinaabe people lived a good life on the shores of the sea. One day, a great otter appeared. Some say it was the sacred Negus shell. Whichever story is told, both referred to the midday when the spiritual leaders of the people. Negig urged the people to travel to the west. Negig, otter. So let's see. There we go. Following the Great Lakes waterway, the people paddled westward, making 7 major stops along the way. At each stop, the otter reappeared and urged the people to continue. Negig told them the journey would be complete when they found the food that grows out of the water. At each major step, and at many intermediate places, some people stayed while others traveled on. Those who stayed traveled up to the rivers until they found monamin, the food that grows out of the water. So monamin is what we call wild rice. So they traveled through the rivers. Some people traveled on. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different stops that they made along the rivers. And these pictures right here, these are also known as the Great Lakes. Small groups and families spread out from the migration route, taking advantage of the rivers to travel until the 3 fires of the Anishinaabe, the Odawa, Potawatomi, and Ojibwe, surrounded the upper Great Lakes. All this travel from years long ago, migration to the seasonal and daily movements, was made possible with the famous birch bark canoe. These boats were made from various sizes for different uses. So this kind of shows where the Ojibwe people lived, up in the orange places there. Potawatomi is the yellow, and the Odawa is the green. And here's the birch bark canoes that they made to travel along the rivers. In Ojibwe, we call them a Gmon. A birch bark canoe. The tiny scout canoe would be carried by one man for quick and stealthy travel. Families had larger canoes to transport the entire family, as well as all the necessities for everyday life. So there's the traveler. He has a smaller Gmon. And then there's the one for the family. Traders used very large canoes or Gmon to transport furs and goods to and from major cities. These canoes were the first steps in a long voyage connecting the forests of the Ojibwe to Europe and beyond. The materials to build and maintain a canoe grow in the headwater areas of the rivers of the Great Lakes. Birch bark, cedar wood, spruce roots, pine sap, and wood and stone tools used in constructing a canoe were readily available. These resources and Anishinaabe technology enabled the people's expansion and trade. So those are all the different tools and materials that they needed to make their Gmon. And then the travelers use these big long Gmon to carry goods and furs and things like that. Here's Nagig. Oh, no, that's a Mick. As we have seen, the headwater areas are rich in birch and wild rice, but other valuable resources also can be found in these diverse areas. The lakes, rivers, and wetlands are full of fish, waterfowl, river-bearing mammals. Jungwashi, Nagig, Washuk, and most importantly, a Mick, were valuable resources highly prized by the European traders. Those fur bearers provided their currency to buy the metal tools and cookware and weapons for the tribal hunters and trappers. In addition to these resources, the Ojibwe provided easy transportation. So the Ojibwe is the rivers. So they had rivers to carry their canoes. For that reason, the French, English, and American traders followed the Anishinaabe into the headwater areas. The top of the watershed usually meets up with the top of the neighboring watershed. A short portage connects the two river systems. The stopping areas near these Anagwamasin are where the Ojibwe established camps and where the foreign traders built their trading posts. One such stopping place on the Lukudere Reservation is known to have been occupied for 7,000 years, long before either of the Anishinaabe or the Europeans had arrived in the area. So they had been settled there for a long time. Eventually, the rising American populations forced the Anishinaabe to give up most of their lands. They retained the right to hunt, fish, and gather on those ceded territories, and like many other tribes, were allowed to choose whether they would establish their homes. These Ishkoniganon are almost invariable on the headwaters of the river systems where they were accustomed to living. So they had to they got forced out and were kind of settled in certain areas where they were told they had to live. So, one night when the people were camped in the shores of the lake, one of those headwater areas, they saw something new. It appeared as a bright star shining low on the horizon. Across this lake from them, they knew the stars, but had never seen a star this low and in this place before. It was so strange to them. It did not move across the sky during the night like it was other stars. Every night the star appeared low on the horizon as it were hanging in the treetops across the lake. Oenin oe mina oe anang. What is that? Is that a star? After several days, a group of elders decided to go across the lake and investigate this strange new phenomenon. They paddled their canoes across the lake and approached the bright shining star. It wasn't very far away, just across the lake near the shore, hanging in the top of a very large pine tree. When they approached the star, they spoke to it, asking, "What are you doing here?" "Ani ma. Who are you? Gin. Why have you come here?" "Anish Bahunjioyan." The star dropped from the treetops in form of a bright, shining man. The people had to look away and shield their eyes from this glowing man. The starman replied, "I have been watching your people from far away, in my home in the sky. I have grown to love the Anishinaabe people, and I wish to be near you and watch you more closely. I love to watch your your happy families paddling your canoes, hunting, fishing, gathering, and playing games together. I only wish to be near you so I can watch your happy lives." The people said, "But your flame is too strong. It is so bright. We cannot see. It hurts us. It's painful to look upon. You cannot enter our homes. They will burn. You'll frighten the children. They won't be able to sleep, and they'll turn crabby." "Our crops will fail if they cannot rest at night. If you stay here like this, we'll be unhappy, and we'll have to move away." The starman was sad that he'd have to return to the sky and not be near the people he had come to love. But the elders said, "Wait, we must think on this and discuss it with the rest of our people. Give us 4 days to try and find a solution." The elders returned to their homes and talked long and hard for 4 days, until they reached a consensus. They returned and told the Starman their solution. Together, they would determine that the Starman would transform into the white water lily that grows on the water. Wherever the people went, he would be there on the rivers, lakes, and wetlands where they made their homes. When fishing, traveling, hunting, swimming, or living near the water, the Starman could always be nearby, watching the people he had grown to love. Meet you.